Hello, and welcome to Sword and Shield live stream number 4. Today is a continuation of the past 2 streams where I've been experimenting with different particle effects and trying to come up with new effects and see how I can create both realistic and more impressionistic kind of particles to use and look into how they work. So if you haven't watched before tonight, that's what I'm doing. If you have any questions about the YouTube channel or Fusion in general, DaVinci Resolve in general, feel free to ask and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. Otherwise, feel free to just hang out and watch some animating tonight. But let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Fusion and we'll get started. Pull up the chat here. So, last time on the stream, I created a bubble effect, and this was took a bit of experimenting, but if I could get it to play back properly. I was actually having issues playing it back at the very end of the stream. Not sure what the deal is with that. Maybe, just had the input switched. This is kind of what I ended up on last time. As opposed to just a swirling torrent of bubbles when you like splash into a pool, for instance, I was looking to create more of a kind of a stream of bubbles popping up. And I actually see an issue right away with it where there's a very small number of bubbles at the very bottom that kind of just appear. So in order to fix that, all I have to do is go to the style controls in my P emitter and set a fade in. And these controls, these handles will just tell your particle emitter to fade in and out your particles at a specific time. Let me pull up the chat in case anyone has any questions. Usually I will do this beforehand. All right, good to go. So that's what we did last time, was make the bubble particles, and the time before that I made this smoke particles, which I still haven't been able to get perfect. I'm having an issue with the bitmap resolution, where for some reason it's not showing up, where the parts of the smoke would get clipped off, and that was kind of an undesirable effect. Oh, I started VR. Interesting. But tonight I think I'm gonna experiment with more of a impressionistic kind of particle effect, something that's just a general use particle that kind of looks cool, maybe doesn't represent anything in reality. So I think I'm gonna try to make like bokeh dots. Kind of a classic example there. To start out, I think I'll make a 30-second composition. Maybe too long, I don't know, but that's where we'll start. What do we have here? Let's go to list view, composition 3. Gonna name this bokeh. And this one should be relatively straightforward, right? Because it's just gonna be dots. Something that's all desirable with a camera with a fast aperture, but it's not too hard to recreate here in Fusion. So I'm going to start out by adding my particle nodes, add particle emitter, particle render, render 3D, merge 3D, render 3D. And I will merge that render 3D with the background node, just so we can see what's going on, and then feed that to the media out. And we've got our starting particles here. So what direction do we want these bokeh particles to go? Well, I think I will just have them going left to right initially. We can always change the velocity later. What's important is how these particles are going to look. So I will bring up 2 windows here, my merge 3D on the left and the media out on the right. And I need to add a camera 3D to merge 3D, so we can control what kind of angle we're looking at the particles from. And I want these to fill up the screen pretty well, but not be too close to the camera where the focal length will have them disappear. So I think that looks pretty good to start. And it's just like a bunch of pixel dots right now, right? So that's not what we want. So we'll change what kind of particles we're using here. we will make them bitmap. Now bitmap makes them disappear because it's looking for an image to reference. Need to input an image, and the p emitter input here that appeared when we made it a bitmap. And so since we're going for bokeh dots, so we'll make that mask an ellipse, and obviously make this way smaller. Maybe 0.02. That might be too small, yeah. 0.04. I'm actually going to modify the height with an expression. And I'm going to open that expression and type ellipse 1.width, just so when I adjust the width, the height will match. And I think that's a pretty good base size. Now I'm going to introduce some variation to these particles. So some of these will be bigger, and some will be smaller. I'm going to soften the edge a bit because it is bokeh. I'm going to introduce some additional blur as well, but we need some initial blur to work with as well. All right. So that is a blob of circles right now. Okay, if we look at our 3D view, these pretty much take up the whole frame here, which is fine. I can always reduce the number of them later, but for now I think it's a good starting point. So in the Controls tab for the P emitter, I am going excuse me. I am going to add some velocity. And you see by default that moves the particles left to right, so that's good. That's what we wanted. I might, let's see how that looks in real time. Okay, actually I didn't actually play this back to see the number of particles we're producing here, but that is a bit extreme, wouldn't you say? That's an extreme amount of particles right there. Okay. So we'll go much lower on the number until we get a nice scattered amount. I may even decrease it more. I'm going to move this sphere here is the emitter. I'm going to move it out of the frame of the camera just so they start off frame, out of frame, and then just go across the screen. I think that'll look nice. So that's kind of crazy. It's pretty hectic. Let's make it a good 1. And I'm gonna reduce the velocity by about half to 0.05. I might even reduce the number even more to 0.5. See how that looks. I'm getting there. Still a little intense. let's go down a lot. 0.1, 0.01 velocity. See what that is. Gives us. Okay. I think we could even go down further on the velocity. Half of that. I think that's pretty good. I'm actually going to move the... I didn't mean to resize it. I'm actually going to move the emitter back into the frame. Because I think I'll be able to do something interesting here. Actually, I'll move it back a bit. It's a bit intense. Maybe a bit back to the stage left here. And then I will increase the lifespan a bit, maybe to 125. Kind of want them to disappear as they get to the end of this frame here. I think that would look nice. And right now they're just popping in and out, which for certain particles you may want that, but in this situation we want everything to be really smooth. This is just going to be a subtle background effect for a bigger composition, a bigger motion graphics composition or compositing work. So in this case, I'm going to adjust the fade controls after I take a sip of this coffee. So I will go to Style, under the P emitter node, go to the fade controls, and I'm just going to 0.17 maybe, and then 0.983, something you don't need to really. Wow. I know you want it to be subtle, but maybe that was too subtle. 0.1 and 0.9. Let's try that. It seems a bit too quick. Too many of them are coming in. Too many of them are fading out too quickly. So in order to change that, I'm going to decrease the number even more, perhaps to 0.08. And we got to introduce some lifespan variance as well. Just maybe 0.8. And then increase the lifespan again to 145. It's not bad. It's not a bad start for our bokeh dots. Now, they could use some more depth, obviously. They're all white right now, and they're all pretty condensed in the same spot, and they're all the same size. So we should probably change all three of those things. So, gonna go to my Style tab, the size controls, and just throw up the size variance here. And also I'm going to go to the if I'm going to use let me catch my train of thought here. So I want to use the blur controls. See how this impacts. I'll move back to my single view here. Now that doesn't look like it's even doing anything. I crank up the blur all the way. Nothing is happening. Which is odd. So let me try getting rid of the soft edge I put on here originally. I'm actually going to change. This is typically a bad idea, but I'm going to change my project resolution midstream here to 1080p. This way I can see what's going on better. I think my computer can handle that. Usually I keep it 720p just to keep things easy so I don't crash as much on the stream. However, I want to see what's going on with this. Okay. So, first thing I need to do is introduce some depth with the position of the actual particles. And now I'm going to do that is just increase the size of the emitter. I may actually have to switch it from a sphere to a cube, and then increase the depth. Let's make sure it's within our camera frame here. Yeah, it is. Great. Now let's see how that looks. Yeah, by changing the shape of the emitter, I definitely changed this whole composition here. So let me just reposition it. Resize it rather. Just so these dots fill the width of the screen here. They're all starting a bit far away from the edge. Not exactly what we want. Okay, so we got some smaller, some bigger, and they are actually all the same size. That's just the distance from the camera that is affecting that. So theoretically, this blur should work now. the field focus. So this is the focus range. Interesting. Let's change the color of these dots real quick. Okay. So under the style, color controls, what would be a cool color for the dots? The bokeh dots, particle dots that we're making here. Very bright. No, I don't really want alpha variance. It's kind of tricky to decide, okay, how should I vary the color? So as it is right now, they fade in from about here to here, and they disappear from the center to just before the edge. It's cool. I think it needs to be a bit more saturated. Maybe. Yeah, not that much. Yeah, not that much. I don't know, maybe it was fine before. Hard to tell when it's not actually blurry. P-render. Not sure why the blur is not taking effect. I'm missing something. I turned it up to cranked it up to 1.0. Maybe I should try to do it. The camera? No, that seems off. 'Cause definitely what I want is the depth of field blur. And like, yeah, we could, if you do soft edge, yeah, it looks closer to what a bokeh would look like. But they're all the same. And we don't want that. Yeah, it just doesn't look good. Because it just softens the edge too. It doesn't, it's not like a uniform blur of each bitmap dot here. Okay. So why is the blur not working? I just wonder if you do just the focal length. What if I look at the render 3D? Let's see what that looks like. Looks the same. Looks the same to me. I just blow up the depth. That'd probably look weird. Well, not really. Just wondering, like, why? It doesn't even do a thing. I isolate the P emitter. Because I am able to affect the bitmap. I wonder if it's just the fact that it's a bitmap. A bitmap? No, because when I make it an Ngon, it seems to have the same effects. Huh. I don't get it. Focal plane, maybe? That's like ridiculously far. Actually, I don't know if there's like a visual indicator where the focal plane is. There's not really. Maybe if I reduce that. Every other control seems to work just fine. I don't quite get it. Oh, don't know why it's on. You could have had motion blur. Like, that's all well and good. Obviously, it's gonna lag things right now. Huh. That's really odd. I mean, it's not odd. I assume it's working how it's intended, but can't add blur to it at all. Let me try. I saved this. Open my bubbles composition. Excuse me. Let's see. These are not blurred at all. When I add blur, just gonna add 1.0. Let's see what happens. Nothing? Really strange. Uh-oh. Get the feeling Fusion crashed on me. Yes, Fusion indeed crashed on me. Let me restart it real quick, get it back up. Has my window capture been this? It switched to the Steam VR. Let's see. Sorry, I gotta, for whatever reason, my capture window changed resolution in OBS to be extremely big, so I have to reposition it here. Great. There we go. We are back. And I got the bubbles composition up here. Let me open it in the Fusion page to see if this is before or after I applied the blur to it. If it's after, then why is it not showing up in the composition is the question. And like most things in DaVinci Resolve, maybe the answer is in the 3,200 page manual. So I'll check on that. Let's see. Go to P emitter, style. Okay, yes, blur is set to 1.0. And nothing is showing up. So let's see if we can figure out why. Looking for P emitter. P emitter, of course, is referenced in like every other node for the particles because it's the thing you start out with the emitter, and then you add all the nodes that affect the emitter. Okay. P emitter. Style tab. Oh, it's not much actually. It is under the style tab. Getting stuck here on the blur. Okay. So we got the dots. They fade in. They fade out, maybe a bit too close to the middle for my liking. But we don't have the blur. That's cool. I think that's pretty good balance. Now, why, oh why? Are the blur controls not working? You would think the preview would show what's going on here. To turn on. Maybe it's because it's just a masked. Maybe it's just because it's an ellipse that I have here. I wonder. Okay, I'm gonna jump out of Fusion here for a second. You won't be able to see, so I'll just switch to my webcam. So I wonder if I pull in an actual bitmap circle as opposed to just a mask, if that would impact it. So really quick here, you can't see what I'm doing, so sorry about that, but I'm opening up Affinity Photo. I'm just gonna make a new 256 pixel by 256 pixel image. And I'm going to draw a circle on it. It's probably going to mess with my scaling. That's fine. And I'm going to export it as a PNG. And pulling up Fusion again here. I'm going to import that circle. Maybe with a loader, actually. Right. Loader. Circle that PNG. Whoa. Maybe not what we wanted. But I'm gonna copy this emitter, make a new one, hook that up to the p-render, and just change the size of this one so we can see or the position, I guess. Okay, yeah, looks really weird with the images, but we could see, does the blur work here? The answer is no. So that's not what's causing that issue there. So I'll hook up my ellipse again. So how can I introduce blur to this other than giving it a soft edge? That's a great question. It's not like it looks bad with the soft edge. I would just like some more variance to it, to be able to have the dots that are closer to the camera be more visible, and the dots that are further away. Maybe it's just a matter of the size. When you look at the size of this frame here, the frame of the camera, it's quite large. It's I guess we can clip the far view still though. Shouldn't impact it that much. Yeah, the scale of it, if we just make it 1, sorry, 0.5. Adjust the width again. Let's make a lot of depth. And the emitter, change the size of the particle. I'm still not seeing any sort of blur whatsoever. I think this is a better use of camera space anyway. Okay, how does it look? Well, it's really slow now because I changed the size of the emitter. That's easy enough to fix. I kind of like the slower look anyway. Maybe not that slow. If we do twice as fast. That's good. That's a good lofty speed. And the fade. Well, yeah, there's no blur at all. I mean, I got both blur 2D, Z, depth of field blur 2D, turned all the way up. And this is the final media out preview, so that should reflect the rendered 2D image. So I don't get what's going on here. Even when I pull this, even when I disable the background node and just look at the 3D render, everything's completely sharp. There's no blur at all whatsoever. I don't think it's anything with the ellipse itself. And the velocity, the speed, nothing like that would impact blurring the individual particles. So I don't realize. Yeah, my first excuse me. My first inclination was just to use the camera. It's weird though, because I couldn't get it to work on my other composition either. So it makes me think like I just don't have some sort of preview option turned on. That doesn't make sense. There's P render blur. Depth merge particles. That's quite strange. This depth blur. Depth. Let's see what depth blur does. Utilizes Z channel, which I don't know is like really. Really weird. I didn't think this little part of this effect would be so difficult, just activating the blur. But for whatever reason, both in this composition and the composition with the bubbles, I'm unable to enable it. Strange. Like there is absolutely no blur happening. And you would think it doesn't have to do with the value. This blur goes up to 1. I can't, oh, you can put it above. If I put it to like 500, you'd imagine something would be happening here. 500 times the maximum value. Some of these particles should be blurred at this point. But that's just not the case. Well, I guess that is something I will have to figure out at another time, because that really confuses me. Why? In the meanwhile, I think we should have a little more fun on this stream, so I'm going to move on to another effect. Put the bokeh effect on hold till I'm able to do some research on why the blur option for the particles is not working. I'm sure someone in the DaVinci Resolve Discord might know more about it than I do. So with more experience messing with particles, just let me know what it is that's going on. In the meanwhile, I'm gonna make a new fusion composition, and I think this is kind of something that I wanted to do, is kind of create a warp drive effect. The Star Trek warp drive, where all these, or the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars, where they start going really fast and the lines push from the center and go out, and it looks really fast and cool. So let's try to do some kind of effect like that. I think it'll be fun. I'm gonna name it warp drive. Okay, so for warp drive, need a particle emitter. We need a particle render. We need a render 3D. And we need a background so we can see that. And then the camera with the, my bad. I always forget the merge 3D. Hook up a merge 3D to the render 3D. Yes. And then in the merge 3D, add a camera 3D. Lots of 3D. And let's actually... Okay. So, for this effect, I think we will make them, the particles, lines. And I think these must be angled the wrong way. Oh, they're set to face the camera. What happens? Are they just too small to be seen by the camera? Is that what's happening? No, they look like they should be filling the screen right now. And I know my inputs are set properly because when I set it to point, this works just fine. You know, maybe we can utilize the points as stars and just simply, well, no. Stars have some variance to the size. They're not all just one pixel size points. I was going to say I could use the points and just have them accelerate really fast towards the camera and behind the camera, and then add like a vector motion blur to have sort of a motion blur trail behind the points where it looks like they're going really fast, like that warp drive effect. But I think we really need a line shape for this to sell this. So why is the line not showing up for me? Let's try adding some velocity. And rotating -90. Okay, not. We need the velocity angle to be -90 as well. No. No. Odd. No, they were going the right way after all. Okay, that was the problem. I had them always facing the camera. Oh, excuse me, I got the sniffles today. Okay, theoretically, that should be showing up. What's the style? The color is white. Now, why are these particles not rendering? My goodness. So many roadblocks today. Aha. Needed to set it to OpenGL. Of course. Alright, so that already looks pretty cool. But it would be nice for it to be a bit more intense and bright. Let's see. So how can I make these lines? Because they're just lines. How can I make them more intense? Because I do want a little bit of fade on the back end, just so they're not, you know, so they're not so obviously pixel lines. Let's see. I wonder if glow would kill my computer. After the render 3D, I mean. $100 glow. That does a good job, actually. Let's make this go faster, though. This is warp drive after all. Don't know why this still feels really slow. There we go, now we're talking. Increase the number. This might be kind of intense for the computer. Not bad, actually. Let's bump up the glow. I'm gonna put a mask on the glow just so the edge There's a little bit of differentiation between the center and the outside. Yeah. That might even be too fast. I don't know. I think if I increase the fade and just turn down the velocity, it's 0.29 maybe, that'd be good. Let's see, fusion, playback. Hey, what's up? Bassist? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Just working on some fusion particles here. I started out working on a bokeh effect. And after about 20-30 minutes of wondering why is the blur not working, moved on to making this effect now, which is yeah, working on a like a Star Trek warp drive effect, or like Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. A lot of my other particles I've worked on are more practical than this one, but I figured, you know, I'm probably gonna finish up on the stream here with something fun, so let's see. So I think I will start the camera. I'm gonna animate the camera on the Z-axis. Start it out there before the particles start, and then as the particles are going, I forget how long I made this actual composition. 30 seconds. Okay. Probably not going to use the entire 30 seconds of that. But about halfway from 30 seconds, which is 720 frames, as 360. And I'll just animate the camera all the way through. Exactly. Adds a little bit of speed, and then that way it has a beginning and an end. So like it'll go for 15 seconds and then eventually fade out to nothing when it ends. I think I'm gonna make it way quicker than that, actually, kind of like a burst, because I don't know if I want it to continuously go at the end. I just want it to have a beginning and an end. So maybe 5 seconds, which since we're doing 24 frames per second, that would be 120 frames. I'll just animate it beyond where the particles go. Delete that other keyframe, and let's see. Cool. And we can move that. I've done some kinetic typography type motion graphics stuff, particularly for a past job of mine. Haven't done a lot of it in Fusion yet though. Most of that I did in After Effects, but that's definitely something I would like to get into more, because I found with Fusion you could do a lot more complicated things a lot quicker than in After Effects, especially repetitive things involving patterns, which is really helpful for stuff like kinetic typography. That's kind of cool. I think what's missing here is a little bit of color variation, a little bit of warm stars, a little cool stars. So to do that, we'll go to the emitter and introduce some blue and some red variants. Let's see. It's really hard to tell if that's even doing anything. The red variants, at least. The blue is very obvious. So yeah, if you want to send me a link, I'll check it out. I'm probably going to be on streaming here for another 30-40 minutes or so, and then afterward I can check it out. Definitely. Is it something in Fusion that you saw? Someone else's tutorial in Fusion? Or something in After Effects that you looking to recreate in Fusion? Some blue. Okay. Yeah, feel free to send that my way. You could post it in the chat here and I'll check it out after, or you can find me on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter. It's at Sword Shield Stew, or you can also email me, Scott at swordandshield.studio. So whichever way. Okay, so I got some blue in there. But yeah, I'm always up to trying different things. So if you got a kinetic typography effect, I will take a look at it. Maybe I'll make a future video out of it, or next stream next week, I'll experiment with it. So that's something that's really helpful for a lot of people. Okay, so blue variance is all right. I think what I really need is just, yeah, a little bit of blue in the base, and then change the color over life. I have 3 different colors here. One is more reddish. No. Maybe more yellow. Completely yellow. Whoa. That's too much. That's too much. Okay, maybe the 3 I'll put in the middle. So it's like a little more blue there, a little bit more red there, and then more yellow there. That's nowhere near red enough. Effect from 2 to 6. Okay. I don't know. Those colors look a bit funky. I know white is just a little too generic, I think. Maybe just throw in a little bit of blue. That's what I was missing. cool colored stars. I actually do have a star glow reactor node. It's probably gonna destroy my computer. But it does look like it fits the look. It actually adds a little bit of motion trails to it too. Yeah, it really affects the performance. Oh, it's way too intense. If you sent me a link, I can't see it in the stream, so I don't know if the stream prevented you from doing that, but if you want, you can find me on Discord, or like I said, I got email. I'm on Twitter. My Twitter bio is linked on the YouTube channel, so no problem. Any way you want to do it. That's what I'm talking about. I'm actually gonna decrease the length of this composition to 140 maybe. Sorry about that. Oh man. Well, surely you got an email. You can email it to me. I'm Scott at Sword and Shield .studio. Posted it in chat. I know it's kind of weird to email when we're talking right now, but if it works, it works. Yeah, it's funny, Discord and Twitter are like the only social media platforms I use. If you can call Discord a social media platform, it's more just chat. All right. Yes, warp drive. Not fusion settings. Can I just set the in and out? I'm actually going to ease the camera motion a little bit. Just sell the beginning and the end even more. I'm just going to ease that, ease the spline. that render out. I wonder if motion blur, that would just absolutely destroy my computer. It does add an interesting element though. Out with, it adds kind of a double image. It's obvious. I mean, it's quality 2. If I set it to quality 8, it's probably less of a double image. I'm gonna render it in place. Just 720p will do. This might take too long. Well, that's kind of, it's too long, I think. What is going on here? Fusion is crashing. That's what's going on. Of course. Lovely. Wouldn't you know? I love working in Fusion. I love creating motion graphics, compositing video. It's all very fun stuff, but the crashes are killing me. And I was told last stream that it has to do with the fact that I've got the NVIDIA Game Ready driver on my computer, since I do game on the computer as well. So maybe I need to try installing the studio driver, see how that affects it. Because I've been told by other people Fusion is pretty stable for them. But on the other hand, I am doing a lot of really intense stuff with these particles in real time and changing a lot of settings and aspects of the image all at once, and I think that's going to create problems no matter what. And is it open? Maybe one of these streams I'll work on something really simple so Fusion will not crash through the entire stream. Something really flat, minimal, flat minimal motion graphics. Although I'm not seeing it yet. Not seeing it in my inbox yet, but maybe we just give it a minute. I'm trying to pull up Resolve again, but it is not allowing me to. Right, just have a hung up process. Yeah, my computer is relatively good. But a couple things like RAM and CPU probably are getting pushed to the upper limits by something like Resolve and Fusion. Everything else though seems to be doing just fine. Spam folder. You think he got sent to spam? I'm not seeing you in spam. That's weird. What the heck? Having issues pulling back up Resolve now. Had the splash screen pop up, but the actual program was not. I'm about due for a reformat and refresh of my computer anyway. Okay, we're on the splash screen. Just want to wrap up the stream by reviewing some aspects of this composition here, this warp drive. In a Zoom meeting. No, I did not. I did not receive it. Oh boy. Resolve is being uncooperative. It's not opening up again, which means I probably would have to reset my computer to get it to open. I usually don't have any issues, so it's really weird. Yeah, sorry, I didn't get your email for whatever reason. Maybe it's taking a minute to go through. But I did not receive anything. I checked my spam folder and everything, so. But if you want to leave a link as a comment on this video when it gets published, it should get published shortly after wrap up this stream. We'll check out that kinetic typography video, maybe do some kinetic typography experiments like the one in the video and others on the next stream, or maybe I'll do it in a future video. I think that's something a lot of people are interested in, is making type that stands out and has interesting motion to it. So definitely I will keep that in mind. Okay. All right. Yeah. Resolve just popped up after being hung up for like a good 2-3 minutes there, so that's great. Okay. That totally derailed me. Okay, so I applied the motion blur to render 3D and all hell broke loose. I'm actually not sure why nothing is popping up here. Just the black composition. Oh, duh. The very beginning and end are pitch black. It is space after all. So I might sort of finalize this. We've got a little bit of star glow on there. I may keep it, I may not. I don't know if it's too cheesy. It's kind of cool. I would add the motion blur, which gives each particle kind of a double trail behind it. Makes it seem like it's going faster. And usually you'd want to avoid that if you're doing motion blur in a camera image. But in this case, I think it adds to the effect of this intense motion. And the camera is going slower here at first, which makes the star particles seem like they're going slow at first, but I think also I would like the particle velocity at the very beginning, maybe the first, I don't know, 14 frames, have the velocity be slower. Oops, not there. Makes it really intense, actually. And you know, I could have this be a whole continuous thing just by adjusting where the camera ends. You know, we can have this could have this last twice as long, 3 times as long. All we have to do is just the out point of our composition and change the camera keyframe here. The Z offset, oops. It'd probably help if that was a bit. Yeah. And we will take one final look at how this looks, lack of a better word. I probably will either reduce or remove that star glow effect. But I would also add a motion blur to the final version here, but boy, that is such a taxing, that's such a taxing thing on your processor. It's a little too intense, I think, at the beginning. I think that's just the velocity here. Yeah, I changed animated the velocity. I really think it should just be consistent. Apparently it is consistent. Maybe I lied. It's the camera speed that's causing that. I could probably just adjust the number of particles, probably save on performance too, if I had fewer. That's a good density, I think. If we wanted in like the very center to make it look like we're going into something, just, oops. Merge a background node, make it white or a little bluish. I don't know. I'll just make it white for now. Whoa. Well, that's kind of an unintended effect. That's the thing about... Oh, it's because I put it before the glow. That's the thing about Fusion that you can't really do in something like After Effects that uses layers. Nothing against that, by the way. I've used After Effects for a number of years, really love it. But you can just experiment with things in Fusion by changing the order of your nodes. And maybe you get something unintended that you really like. And that's just the cool aspect of it, I think. I don't know what I was doing here, really. I was thinking, like, there's something in the distance that you're racing towards. So you could put something in the center there and have it stretch and disappear as well. But I think this, as a standalone effect, works rather well too. So I think next week, based on what I heard today, I think I'm gonna wrap up this live stream tonight. So thank you everyone for watching. This is the third week I've been doing particles, so if you were here in the past, we did bubbles last week. This one here, it may not work. We did bubbles last week, we did smoke the week before, we did warp drive effect today, and started doing bokeh circles. So it's been a fun little adventure with particles, but I think next week we might take a break and do some motion graphics, either continue making some lower thirds in Fusion, or working on some kinetic typography based on some feedback in the chat I got today. So be on the lookout for that. In addition to these Sunday night live streams, Sword and Shield Studio, myself, Scott, I put out a new video every Friday. New YouTube video comes out every Friday on the channel with a general tip you may not have known about for DaVinci Resolve. So subscribe to the channel if you want more of that. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a good night.